This section is quite easy and rather fun. We focus our attention on multiplying polynomials. In this first case, we're going to multiply a monomial, single term, times a monomial. And all we do is multiply the coefficients out in front, negative 5 times 3, to get negative 15. And then we multiply the variables, in which case we're going to add the exponents to get x to the 9th. In problem number 2, this 4x out front is a monomial getting multiplied by the binomial inside, and we're going to perform distribution. Multiplying the coefficients, 4 times 3, we get 12, and then x times x, we get x squared. We then take the 4x, multiply by negative 7, and get negative 28 times x. And that would be the product. In problem number 3 here, we are going to again have distribution with this more complicated expression out in front multiplying into the parentheses. And we again multiply the coefficients first. 5 times 3 makes 15. And then for each variable we add exponents. For the a's, we have a squared times a, that's 2 plus 1 making 3, so we have a cubed. B to the 3rd times b to the 7th, 3 plus 7 makes 10. C to the 4th times no more c's makes c to the 4th. Then we're going to have our minus sign because positive 5 times negative 5 makes negative 25. And we start all over again with a squared times a. The exponents become 2 plus 1 making 3. B to the 3rd times b squared, that's b to the 5th. 3 plus 2 is 5. C to the 4th times no more c's, we just have c to the 4th. And then no d's but times d to the 5th. 1 times d to the 5th is d to the 5th. And that becomes our product. Problem number 4 is a very famous pattern. We are multiplying a binomial times a binomial, and basically everything in the first parentheses needs to be multiplied by everything in the second parentheses. So we distribute the x from the first parentheses times each in the second parentheses, and then the 5 from the first parentheses gets multiplied by each thing in the second parentheses. And we use the acronym FOIL to represent this problem. FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. The first part of that distribution is what I'm highlighting in red here. The first thing in each parentheses, x times x, making x squared. O for outer represents multiplying together the two things on the outside edges, which would be for us the x times negative 3. I stands for inner, multiplying the two numbers closest together. That would be 5 times x, which makes positive 5x. And L stands for last. We multiply the last thing in each parentheses. Positive 5 times negative 3 makes negative 15. And most often when we're using this FOIL process, the two middle terms combine together, and we can have x squared plus 2x minus 15. So this FOIL process occurs whenever we are multiplying a binomial times a binomial, which we are doing for the most part through the rest of this page. In this next problem, the first part of FOIL says multiply 2x times 3x. That gives us 6x squared. We then multiply the 2x out front times the positive 5 at the end, outer terms, plus 10x. I'm going to switch to blue now. The negative 3, not just 3, but the negative going with it, negative 3 times 3x makes minus 9x. And then the last part of each parentheses, the negative 3 times the positive 5, makes negative 15 when you multiply. Combining these middle terms together, we have 6x squared plus 1x plus x minus 15. And this is a process you want to get to know really well, because once we finish learning this in this chapter, in the next chapter we're going to end up going backwards, undistributing. So here we go. Next problem. First part of FOIL, the 3x times the 2x, the first thing in each parentheses, multiplies together to give us 6x squared. We would then multiply the outer terms, the things on the far left and the far right. That's the 3x times the 4, giving us 12x. Switching colors here, we're going to multiply the negative 5 times the positive 2x for the inner term, giving us negative 10x. And finally, negative 5 times positive 4, the L part, the last part of each parenthesis, giving us negative 20. Combining these middle terms together, we now have 6x squared plus 2x minus 20. And so this process just continues on and on and on. We want to get very good at this procedure. Here we go again. And I would suggest pausing this video, doing them on your own, and then starting it back up and checking your answer. The first part of FOIL is 5x squared. The outer, 5x times 8, is positive 40x. The inner is negative 1 times x, negative x. And the last part of FOIL here is negative 8. Combining these middle terms together, we have 5x squared plus 39x minus 8.